What's going on, guys? Today, we've got a great episode with Polina Pompliano. She is the founder of The Profile. And in this conversation, we get deep into the weeds and I share my honest opinion about what's going on with Bitcoin, why the economy is rocking, how I knew that all the people who were yelling and screaming about how bad the tariffs were going to be, how I knew they were going to be wrong. I show you my exact process and we talk through what the signals were and how you can repeat the same process next time all the economists agree on stupid stuff. On top of that, we also get into a little bit what's going on in China, the UK, all the trade deals, whether inflation is going to happen, and the stock market. Hope you guys enjoy it. Here's my latest conversation with Polina Pompliano. All right, Polina, what's the first topic?
All right. Bitcoin is sitting at $103,000. It looks like it's kind of taken over Wall Street. What's going on?
First of all, before we talk about Bitcoin, bing bong, the Knicks 3-1. Let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. If the Knicks win one more game, they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals. Come on, bing bong. The Celtics, they came into Madison Square Garden last night. I went to the game. They were all hot. Jason Tatum, he's throwing up threes all over the place. The guy's good. He's good at basketball. But I just want to say, Jalen Brunson and the Knicks, they got a shot. We win one more game, we're going to be the Eastern Conference Finals. All right.
Anthony said that, and I was like, when can I go?
The finals. Polina only goes to championship games. Imagine that being your reputation. She went to the World Series. If the New York Knicks go to the NBA Finals, I promise you will see Polina in the stands. She will go. She don't go to any other basketball games, but if the Knicks go to the finals, Polina will be there.
Yeah, don't waste the seat on me.
All right, yeah. Well, in the Eastern Conference or semifinals, it's not really worth it. Okay, let's get to Bitcoin though. Bitcoin also bing bong over 100K.
Wait, what is the bing bong?
It's an inside thing. You gotta be in the know to know.
Knickerbocker.
Yeah, that is, we won't go all
okay.
All right, so Bitcoin, now we're back to real reality. Bitcoin is doing very well, mainly because Bitcoin is very sensitive to global liquidity, and global liquidity has been expanding. Not only did we see China panic and cut interest rates and print a little bit of money, 1 trillion yuan, but also we see in the United States that there are a number of things that the U.S. continues to inch closer to that would be increasing of global liquidity. On top of that, countries all around the world. So as M2 money supply, global liquidity is all increasing, Bitcoin nicely follows. And so I think that Bitcoin will continue to grind higher here. Second thing that Bitcoin's got is Bitcoin is watching all these public companies keep buying it. They are assaulting. Bitcoiners are assaulting Wall Street. How many public companies do we need buying Bitcoin for there to be buying pressure on Bitcoin? Obviously, we're getting closer and closer to that. Third thing that Bitcoin's got going for it is that Bitcoin in particular is now transcending itself into becoming the benchmark rate. I've been saying this for a long time. Everyone used to say their quote unquote risk-free rate is bonds. That is going to go away. The quote unquote risk-free rate is going to become Bitcoin. And it is for the younger generation already. Those younger people are going to grow older. The older people love you, but you're going to be gone. And so there you're going to have the new benchmark rate is going to be Bitcoin. And if that is the benchmark rate, then guess what? If you can't beat it, you got to buy it. If you can't beat it, you got to buy it. There are a lot of people who can't beat Bitcoin. And so guess what? They're buying it. It is the new benchmark rate. And therefore, I think that is a 20, 30 year kind of time horizon that we're going to watch this kind of ascend to. All of finance will use Bitcoin as that benchmark rate. Naturally, that asset's going to keep going up.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like the Bitcoin industry is becoming more dominant. I think
because Bitcoiners were right. Not just because they bought Bitcoin, but I think this is a very important point. You and I talked about this the other day. To understand Bitcoin, you have to look at the world through a lens that is very different than the lens that was the accurate perspective of the world 30 years ago. And so the reason why it is so controversial is there are some people who are left in the old world. They're looking through their binoculars, but their binoculars ain't showing them how the world looks today. Instead, there's a whole new group of people. It's like a new version of the binoculars came out. They put them goggles on, and when they look through it, they see with clarity. But the people looking through the old perspective, they are wishing for a world that no longer exists. The new generation of people who understand Bitcoin, they are looking through a lens that accurately understands how the world operates today. And so that is the intelligence test of financial markets in this day and age. Do you believe in Bitcoin or do you not? If you do not, that's all I need to know, because it tells me that you have not updated your worldview yet. But if you go and you talk to the Bitcoiners, people are like, oh, the Bitcoiners are insane. They have all these crazy views, like they don't want to eat high carb, high sugar type foods. You're like, what does that have to do with Bitcoin? It's a whole world view. It's a way of looking at what's happening around you, looking at society, looking at all this stuff. The ideas of decentralization, community notes on X and Bitcoin, dapped up. The same thing. It's decentralized intelligence. It's decentralized computing. It's the power of the crowd, right? Those ideas, one is all about information. The other is all about economic freedom. And so you go around and you look at this stuff. Well, imagine on the computing side, Bitcoin built a decentralized network, right? It's the strongest computer network in the world. Amazon, Google, all these companies, they're copying it. They're doing the best they can. They're building POPs all around the world. They're trying the best they possibly can to go ahead and have a decentralized, even they all own it, but having that resilient infrastructure around the world. Then you go and you look at things like trade. Then you go look at things like supply chains. Then you go look at things like medicine, right? You keep going through this and you see these commonalities that go throughout society. And so to me, Bitcoin is the intelligence test. If you have the old perspective on the world, which is an outdated perspective, and you have not updated your mental software yet, you will not understand Bitcoin. But if you have updated your mental software and you understand that the world operates differently today than it did 30 years ago, and we better understand what's happening, one, you will be sympathetic to Bitcoin, but also two is it will put you in a position to better understand all of the world around you. And that, my friends, is why when stocks went down 20% earlier this year, and I was on here and I kept saying it over and 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 over again, that stocks were going to go back up and that everyone who was freaking out was going to look ridiculous in hindsight. Here's hindsight. They look ridiculous. People were talking about the Great Depression.
Hold on. Before we get to that, let's just address what's going on in crypto right now. So Coinbase just became the first and only crypto company to join the S&P 500. DeFi technology started trading on the NASDAQ. MicroStrategy keeps just buying more and more. The Trump family's Bitcoin mining venture, American Bitcoin, is set to go public. David Bailey and holding company Nakamoto raised $710 million and announced a merger with Kindly MD to establish Bitcoin treasury. I mean,
Bitcoiners are assaulting Wall Street. You ever read the book Barbarians at the Gate?
Yes, actually I did.
Guess what? The Bitcoiners are at the gate. That's what's happening right now. And here's the big secret is everyone wants to draw a line in the sand and say, Bitcoiners, you're on one side, traditional Wall Street, you're on the other side, face each other like old Civil War, march across the field, fight it out, there's one winner. That's not what's happening. The Bitcoiners are walking into Wall Street and the Wall Street bankers are putting their arms around the shoulder of the Bitcoiners and they're saying, let's go win together. Because guess what happens? When MicroStrategy's buying more Bitcoin, the Wall Street banks, the investment bankers, they're making money. When all of a sudden you see Coinbase get into the S&P 500, the pensioners, the index funds, the S&P holders, they're all making money. And so the beauty of this is it's not a zero-sum game. For Bitcoin, the Bitcoiners, the publicly traded companies associated with Bitcoin, as they win, Wall Street is going to win too. Wall Street is not stupid. They understand if there's somewhere where money can be made, the economic incentive will bring them there. And that's why you see Wall Street embracing this. You don't raise hundreds of millions of dollars as a public company unless somebody on Wall Street's getting paid. You don't actually build these companies into multi-billion-dollar businesses without Wall Street helping you do it.
I think finally, like, the incentives are aligned, if you will.
Wall Street didn't like Bitcoin until Wall Street figured out how to make money with Bitcoin.
Exactly.
Now they're like, oh, y'all got to wait for us to make money? We love Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right? And so that is ultimately what we're watching happen here. Again, remember I said community notes and Bitcoin? Dapped? Guess what? Wall Street Bitcoiners, dapped. Like,
someone get him off the internet.
They understand exactly now how to take this new thing. It's a shiny toy that brings new clients, new revenue, new profits.
Yeah.
If you go to a Wall Street bank and say, I can bring you clients, revenue, and profits, guess what they say? Why don't you sit down here, young man? We have a nice little spread for you. We could eat over a nice meeting where we try to take your soul.
Oh my gosh.
Because ultimately that is where this is all headed, is Bitcoin is going to ascend into the depths of the traditional financial world because they can't live without it. And that is the part that makes people in the traditional world uncomfortable, but you can't stop the truth.
I mean, yeah, I guess almost every what started as alternative assets have become more mainstream assets over time.
100% that's true. But Bitcoin is even more important than your traditional alternative assets because it is ultimately going to eat into the store of value. And so as that continues to happen, capital gets sucked into the hardest money in existence, and Bitcoin is the hardest money. And so as soon as you understand that, bam, you updated your goggles, you see the new world for what it is, you completely change the way that you look at a bunch of different things, and that is the intelligence test of where we're headed. And I think that's why you see all of these companies, people trying to buy Bitcoin, Coinbase getting into the S&P, all those things you just mentioned. It all comes back to, guess who's driving all of that? Bitcoiners who see the new world for what it is, and they are the barbarians at the gate. That is our generation's version, and it's a hell of a sight to see. I know most of these people. Hell yes. Let's go. I love seeing them be ambitious and go on assault.
Yeah, no. Okay, let's talk about the economy at large. The S&P 500 officially turned positive on the year. We're now up over 1,000 points since April's low.
Bing bong.
And then before you bing bong, then JP Morgan drops its U.S. recession call after U.S.-China trade truce.
Bing bong. I've been telling you guys. Remember, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, we're talking about literally less than a month ago, these people were yelling and screaming about the Great Depression. Get out of here. This was the easiest call. There are many things I've done in my career where I've come out publicly and I said something and I'm like, it's like, 60% odds. I think that's right. I mean, I'm trying to be pretty clear about where I think the odds are. This was like a 90% confidence call. This was the easiest thing in the world to understand.
Why? Because you think tariffs
There's three things. Today's episode is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Have you ever browsed in incognito mode? Well, it's probably not as incognito as you thought. Google recently settled a $5 billion lawsuit after being accused of secretly tracking users in incognito mode. What was Google's defense? They said that incognito does not mean invisible. In fact, all your online activity is still 100% visible to a ton of third parties. That is unless you use ExpressVPN. Without ExpressVPN, these third parties can still see every website you visit, even in incognito mode. That's your ISP, your mobile network, or the admins on your Wi-Fi network. But ExpressVPN solves that by rerouting 100% of your traffic through secure encrypted servers, so third parties can't see your browsing history. Now, ExpressVPN is the best VPN because they hide your IP address, they make it super easy to use, it works on all devices including phones, laptops, tablets, and more, and they are rated #1 by top tech reviewers like CNET and The Verge. So if you want to use ExpressVPN and you want your browsing history to stay yours, which I want to have privacy just like you, then you got to use ExpressVPN. Protect your online privacy today by visiting expressvpn.com/pomp. That's expressvpn.com/pomp. And you can get an extra 4 months for free. expressvpn.com/pomp. Go check them out today. Today's episode is brought to you by Core. You can earn yield on your Bitcoin by just holding your Bitcoin. It's simple. Core, the leading Bitcoin scaling solution, will reward you for not selling your Bitcoin. It's not magic. Here's how it works. Core is a protocol secured by elected validators. You can help elect validators and secure the network by simply locking up your Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain. No bridging, no lending, and just holding. When your validator secures Core, it earns rewards fueled by network activity and passes them back to you as yield. With a minimum lockup of just 1 day, when the time lock ends, you get your Bitcoin back untouched. Still your keys, still your coins, now your yield. For even higher rates, stake Core alongside your Bitcoin and multiply your yield. And if you want to see what your Bitcoin is securing, join millions of others in exploring the largest Bitcoin DeFi ecosystem. There are over 100 live apps in the network and the deepest liquidity in all of Bitcoin DeFi. Get off zero and start earning yield on even just 1% of your Bitcoin by going to stake.coredao.org/pomp. Again, that's stake.coredao.org/pomp, or go click the link in the description. One, I went and looked at what happens when tariffs get put in place. There are still people who are arguing with me about what happens with tariffs, even though the same thing that happened in 2018 is happening now. Tariffs are deflationary. How do I know that? We've been putting tariffs on for months now. We started in February. It is now May. Inflation has been crashing this entire time. People, oh, don't worry, inflation is going to come. No, it's not. Inflation is not coming. And so when you think about that, you can say that if inflation is at 1.5%, the whole thing is you have a bigger worry of deflation, of economic slowdown when you put tariffs in place. So yes, you start trying to be theoretical about individual product prices and stuff. That's not how it works. And so that was one big thing was I actually went and I did the work and I published it publicly. I went product by product by product and showed the prices, showed the chart changes, showed the inflation metrics, and people still were like, I don't believe you. That was one. Two, if you can turn around market sentiment with a couple of posts on social media, you ain't gonna have a real recession. And that was very obvious because there was multiple times on the way down where a single tweet, a single interview on television would all of a sudden, you would get these like relief rallies. And it was like the market wanted to go higher on news. Nothing fundamentally changed on the way down. Nothing fundamentally changed on these relief rallies other than words. If words can create a downturn, words can create an uptrend. And so naturally, it was just, this is all fear-induced. And when the fear dissipates, which it will, enthusiasm will come back twice as hard. Pretty easy to see. Third thing, I literally tweeted, how many times? Study reflexivity. The faster it falls, the faster it'll come back. You only got to see it one time in your life. You never unsee it. And so if something falls quickly, it's going to come rallying right back because that's how reflexivity works. And so here we go. We now are higher than Liberation Day. We still have tariffs in place for all the people who are like, oh, they walk back the tariffs. But like, do you understand that the UK, we basically went to the United Kingdom and we said, hey, come over here. Get over here, boy. And when they came over there, you know what we did? Said, sit down right here, like a grandpa, right? Talking to his grandson. And when he said, you know what I think is going to happen here? You're going to take your tariff of 5.5%. You're going to lower that bad boy down to under 2%. And then you know what we're going to do? We're going to take our tariff of under 2%. We're going to jack that bad boy up over 10 to 10%. So we got them to lower their tariffs and we raised our tariffs. And then we said, you know, all of our producers that you don't want our products coming into your market, you're going to stop that nonsense. You're going to let our producers put those products into the market now. And guess what happened? That is a great deal for America. There's now a more even playing field when it comes to international trade. And so anytime that you can do that, guess what happens? Regardless of what the facts are in the economy, the people who are critiquing this stuff, they're on one side of the political aisle. It's all getting politicized. I don't care about the politics. Throw all of that out. I don't care if you're left, right, if you're up or down. All I care about is, did the United States get a better deal? In the UK case, objectively, yes. And now it looks like we're going to get the same thing in China. So people are like, oh, they walked back the Chinese tariffs. No, we have a 30% tariff on China right now. 30%. China's tariff on us is 10%. We also are going to get access to the Chinese market. Historically, they were flooding our country with tons of products.
You think we will?
100%. Book it. Done. We absolutely are going to do it. Because guess what? We put 145% tariff on them and they panicked. They cut rates, they printed money, and they came to the negotiating table after saying that they wouldn't do it. And so at the end of the day, the United States of America, we have the position of strength. All these people who are on the internet, who are yelling and screaming about their academic textbooks, they're morons. They have no clue how the world actually works. And that's why you got this huge fear-induced, politicized, entire approach to this. Guess what happens? So far, it looks like this administration, who, by the way, does things on a daily basis that I disagree with, that does things that I'm like, I wish the right idea, bad execution, right? Same thing I used to say about the Biden administration. Sometimes they had good ideas, sometimes they had bad ideas. Sometimes they had good execution, sometimes they had bad. I don't care about the political stuff. But what I do know is that they called their shot. They're Babe Ruth. They walked up to the plate, they pointed to center field, and they hit a home run. And they're going to probably do it a couple more times. And you got to give them kudos because they are leveling the playing field on an international trade basis. And that is good for us. That's what we wanted. And frankly, that's what most of the country, majority of the country voted for that specific thing. Pro-America policy. People look at the border. The border is the craziest thing to me. If you look at the chart of the illegal crossings into the United States, it took them like 4 weeks to close the border. 4 weeks. It's the most, I thought that they were going to close the border. That blew away any expectation that I had. 4 weeks, maybe it was 5 weeks, whatever the number was, it was like weeks to do it. That is crazy to me that for 4 years it was open and they shut it like that. Now, same thing's happening here. And it goes back to this idea of our society in general is separating into people who have one of two approaches to the world. They come to their life from a position of strength. They understand the power of strength. They understand the importance of personal agency. They understand that you can have an impact on the environment around you. They are all about action, not about always constantly complaining and being a victim. On the other side, there's a bunch of people in society who have been, unfortunately for them, taught that the way to maneuver through life is to be a victim, is to complain about everything, to not act, to take the approach of weakness when you're approaching situations. That's society at this point. Everyone wants to say political party. At the end of the day, I don't care. The political parties are swapping back and forth, right? What was Republicans, now Democrat, was Democrats, now Republican. Who cares about all that stuff? Either you're somebody who believes in coming to your life from strength and personal agency, and you believe you can act on the world, or you are somebody who sits back and says that the world acts on me, I'm a victim to whatever my circumstance is, and I cannot change it. We went from a president who unfortunately was in that camp of, I cannot change the world around me, because they weren't doing anything. They were just letting all this stuff happen. China, in the negotiations, literally said, we knew that there was a trade deal in place that we signed with Trump in his first term. When Biden took office, we knew he was weak, whatever I'm paraphrasing, but we knew he was weak and we violated the trade agreement. We knew that he wasn't going to do anything. Now we go back to a position of strength. There ain't nobody violating any trade deals.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I
do you agree?
Yeah.
You do agree?
Yeah. Okay. No, I do think that
you hate that I had you say that, huh?
It's gonna clip that.
First time she agreed with me in like 3 years.
No, that was quite the speech there. All right. No, what I was gonna say is, I used to think that like economic policy and like things like that couldn't necessarily be politicized because it's the economy, it's numbers, it's facts. But now I see how, for example, Scott Bessent, went to Geneva. He talked with China in trade negotiations, and they decided to reduce the tariffs on goods from China from down to 30% from 145%. And China's going to reduce it, like you said, to 10% down from 125%. Now, what I'm seeing is some headlines being like, oh, look, like we're doing a great job with the negotiations, and some headlines being like, oh, we're walking it back. It's like, well, is it a negotiation or is it a walk back? And it's like, I think that's kind of what you see with how you want to see the world.
Show me one person who thinks that we are caving, we are backtracking or any of this stuff, who's ever done high stakes negotiations. Show me one person. The odds are nearly zero of them who are saying that because they've never actually been through these types of negotiations. It was like a meme when the tariffs started. People were like, "Oh, I went back and I read The Art of the Deal, and he's anchoring."
Yeah.
Right? And then a bunch of other people are like, "No, he's not. He's stupid. He doesn't know what he's doing. Whatever." Listen, there's a lot of things that you can complain. You can pick up any single person in the world, and you can find amazing things they do, and you can find stupid things that they do. Right? Again, throw all the politics out. If there's one thing that this guy has hung his entire career on, it's negotiating. And people always be like, oh, he had this one negotiation that didn't win. Like nobody bats 1,000, right? I'm not even saying he's going to bat 1,000 on the trade deals. We actually may end up doing a deal with some country somewhere that I think is a bad deal, right? But that UK deal, I never thought we'd get that.
So you're saying that it's still not free trade, but it's freer trade.
What I'm saying is that free trade is a lie. I've been saying that for months now. Is that the United States, it's like we went and took a nap, right? We went in the morning, we went and talked to all the countries and we said, hey, you guys want free trade, free trade, free trade? Yeah, okay, great. Okay, we're going to do free trade. Amazing. That's basically what World Trade Organization, all these things that we signed. We then went, took a little siesta, started sleeping. We woke up an hour later. All the other countries got together and decided that free trade thing, we ain't going to do that. But we woke up and just pretended like the free trade thing was still going on. We're still doling out money. We're still doing all this stuff, whatever. All these other countries, they had tariffs on us. They were subsidizing their producers. They were manipulating their currencies. They were doing all this stuff. By the way, it shouldn't be political because Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Bernie Sanders, all these people have been saying this for 30 years. Donald Trump is a Democrat running the Republican Party. That's why the working class went from the Democrat Party to the Republican Party, is because you had somebody who was a strong position of strength type leader who has the same democratic principles that the Democrats used to have, and now he's running the Republican Party. And so I actually think that if I was the Democrats, the way that I would talk about it is I would say something to the effect of the Democrats invaded the Republican Party and took over. Because that's basically what happened.
They would never.
Of course they wouldn't say that. Of course, because to them it's more important about the optics of it. But that's basically what happened. Right? Is you have people who are Democrats. Elon Musk, Democrat. Joe Rogan, Democrat. Donald Trump, Democrat. Right? Just go Tulsi Gabbard, all of them.
I mean, I think the pharmaceutical drug prices is a very democratic move.
That is like the most anti-free market thing in the world, is to basically put in a most favored nation policy for pharmaceutical drugs. By the way, it's great, right? It is going to drive down costs in America. It will increase prices elsewhere, but it is going to drive down prices in America. And if you have a pro-American policy, then you should want the cheapest prices here in America. Help the person who needs medicine, who can't afford it in America. Great idea. But you are manipulating the market. And so the second you start to manipulate the market, you are going to create issues elsewhere. But whether people like it or not, those issues aren't going to be in America because we're going to get the drug prices down. To your point, that is a very Democrat type policy, but it's the Republicans that are doing it. So just take away all of the political parties. Just start talking about this idea of, is it a good idea or is it not? Is it a good idea to shut the border? Whoever is going to do it. Duh. Yes. Is it a good idea to go to countries and say, whatever you do to us, we're going to do to you unless you allow for free trade? Duh. Of course. Is it a good idea to get pharmaceutical prices down? Duh. Of course. And so you keep going through all these things. And what you say is, this is basically better execution of the Democrat policies the last 30 years. We're now just seeing it happen. And the world has shifted where somehow now you have a bunch of people who identify with the Republican Party who are actually encouraging this stuff. And so that is like a mind bend that somehow now we're seeing a bunch of stuff that was talked about for 30 years actually get put in place. And so again, I keep coming back to this. I don't care which political party is in office. All I care about is the life of the average citizen getting better or worse? That's all I care about. And inflation has to come down. The stock market should go up. We should see things like pharmaceuticals, gas prices, food, etc., not keep exploding higher. We should leave people alone. We should make sure that they're safe when they go out in their neighborhood or they go out in to their school, all this stuff. It's pretty simple, basic stuff. And then just let people live their lives and be happy.
Speaking of walking statements back, EY, that was Ernst & Young. Is it now just EY? I don't know. Okay. EY chief economist.
They changed the name to Bing Bong.
EY chief economist Gregory Dacko in this Bloomberg article says, the temporary U.S.-China tariff reprieve is a notable de-escalation, but it won't avert a slowdown. Front-loaded demand, elevated price pressures, and acute policy uncertainty will still weigh on hiring and spending.
Stop it. Stop
What
it.
do we think? I mean,
Stop it.
Does he not have a point?
No, he doesn't have a point. This is completely wrong.
Why?
Because they're thinking about it theoretically from an academic perspective. That's not how the world works.
Why
you know
not?
how I know? Ryan Peterson, Flexport CEO, 35% jump in ships already coming from China to the United States. What's going on, guys? I hope you're enjoying this episode. Before you continue, I want you to know about a brand new show called From the Desk of Anthony Pompliano. I sit down at my desk every single morning and I explain what I think about current events. It's a great show that hopefully will keep you informed and entertained to a little bit. And so if you go all the way over to the other channel, From the Desk of Anthony Pompliano on YouTube, Rumble, X, and every other platform, From the Desk of Anthony Pompliano is a show that'll keep you informed about all things financial markets, general business, pop culture, and of course, Bitcoin. I'll see you guys over there. Now let's get back into this episode. It ain't even been a week yet.
Hey, explain to the people what Flexport
It's been
is.
like 4 days. They're a freight forwarder, like a tech-enabled freight forwarder. So they see all the data. 35% jump in the number of ships or containers coming from China to the United States. It's been 4 days. He predicts that there's such a long line of pent up demand that there's literally going to be no space available on these ships very shortly here. So if you think about that, what do you mean there's going to be a slowdown? There's going to be a massive boom. And so that is really where we have to start positioning ourselves, is you have to update your mental model of what's going on. We went through the fear component. It was very easy to see we're going back. Now, here comes the momentum. You better be ready because here comes the boom. Stock all-time highs by the end of the year. Bitcoin all-time high by the end of the year.
Oh, God.
I said it when we were down 20%. People thought I was crazy. When it happens, y'all will remember. I've been bullish this whole time.
If you guys clip that for the internet, just cut me out.
I've been bullish the whole time. Look, I say a lot of things that end up being wrong, whatever. This time, so far on pace.
Here's what I think about people who believe this stuff. I think that it's very hard to change somebody's belief about something. So when they get data that contradicts it, they're not gonna change their mind completely. They're gonna walk it back, but still in a way that aligns with their view of the world. Are you saying that you were A, not willing to change your mind, or B, that I guess because you used to think tariffs were bad, but then you changed your mind too?
I thought that tariffs were inflationary. That's what the economics professor in college told me. That's what every single economist that I knew told me. That's what every single investor told me. Tariffs are inflationary. It was like the 12 commandments and tariffs are inflationary.
Why did you
regurgitate it over and over again?
What caused you to change your mind?
Throw in a Hail Mary, maybe an Our Father, and then tariffs are inflationary. Like you just grew up. That was a staple.
By the way, if you guys are wondering why Anthony has a scar on his forehead, it's because our 1.5-year-old attacked him.
Yeah, me and that little boy, we gonna talk. He did slice me real good. It looks much better now than it did.
But I was like, what did he slice you with?
His toy. I was laying on the floor and he whacked me and then he laughed.
Oh.
And, he's definitely my son.
He's mostly a pacifist, though.
Yeah, of course. Tariffs are inflationary.
But what caused you to change your mind?
I went and I looked
but why?
In 2018.
What was the impetus?
Because I saw all the economists agree on something. The second I saw all the economists agree, I said they're wrong. Look, again, update your mental software, new way to look at the world. The second that all the economists agree on something, immediately take the other side. It's very simple. As soon as there's consensus.
Why? Because they're academic?
They're all academic, but they never agree on anything. They always disagree. So the second they all build it, what it means is it's actually a sign that they're not thinking that we have now outlawed dissent. They all fell in line. As soon as we outlawed dissent, dissent is correct. Remember when you couldn't say that the lab leak theory was true? Now, guess who's saying it? The government's saying it. But literally, it was outlawed. They outlawed dissent.
If you said
anything other than the bat is the virus, you were literally kicked off the internet. As soon as you saw dissent is outlawed, I said, I'll never forget. Zero Hedge got kicked off Twitter. I turned to Polina, I said, that's true. Easy. As soon as you outlaw dissent, it is true. And so, here, easy. I'm just telling you guys what I did. All the economists agreed. Bam, they're wrong. You could tell me anything. You literally could tell me that all the economists say the sky's blue today. They're wrong. Because in a group of people that big, somebody looks up in the sky and says, I actually think it's white because there's a lot of clouds, right? And then there's debate, there's dissent, there's all, but that's not what was happening. Every single one of them all came out and they all put on their nice little suits and ties. They went on to television and they all said, I'm the professor at whatever university. Of course, tariffs are inflationary. This is horrible. The Great Depression in 1929. Shut up. What do you guys know? You guys were wrong. And it goes back to, we've seen this over and over and over again, because the same people who said that tariffs were inflationary, the same people who said that inflation was going to be transitory, were the same people who said that the virus came from a bat. You just go all the way back.
I remember the confidence of the inflationist transitory people.
That was, again, so easy. The second they all started saying it, you're like, they're wrong. Duh. You can't print trillions of dollars and not get inflation.
Yeah. All right. On that note, it's been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It just felt good to rant a little bit today.
You got it off your chest.
As a reminder, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you guys watching. But Knicks 3-1. One more win.
Bing bong, ding dong.
It's not ding dong. All right. See you guys next time.